being able to give us that history so that we do understand where we come from, and we get a better sense of awareness of self.
I agree with that. I really do. And I think that if we had more people involved, the Bible says this in Amos: how can two walk together except they be agreed? There is too much disagreement, and disagreement causes disconnection and discord. And a band cannot walk together unless they have the same cadence. I just don't believe that everybody is on the same page because it is not directly affecting them currently in this moment.
And
Do you think that's...
Oh, and just to add, another thing that we said earlier was that these are not just players, these are people. Every person belongs to some aspect of a community. So maybe, one of those solutions is, yes, Colin Kaepernick took the knee, but maybe that also means that in terms of the community rallying up with him, maybe that means him going back to his aspect of his community, going back to his school or going back to his church and teaching that history. It starts there. If he, as a person of his stature, which is now basically a political activist icon, I'm sure if he goes back to places like that and he puts up a quick slideshow to really refresh people on where they come from and why it's so important to rally up, I'm sure, the movement has already gotten bigger. It's already become bigger than Kaepernick. So I think that it really does take that one person who is trying to take on being the icon, if you will, for the issue. It does take that person to really engage with those people and say, yes, it is about you, in order for those people to come together.
Yeah, and not only the Black or the African American, but you have
Anybody.
other ethnicities. Yeah.
And I think that makes it even more effective when people of other races, Anne Hathaway, the actress, just chimed in on the young girl that was killed at the train station in the Bay. And she said, part of being white in this situation means not standing by. You are just as much of a problem when you use that quote unquote privilege to say nothing. Mm-hmm. Yes, you might have an issue with how the people are treated, but what does that matter if you don't say anything? If people see that kind of solidarity, not only the African Americans, but everybody of all colors, if they see that kind of uprising, then it really becomes something like, wow, okay, maybe we should really take a look. And that's why I think it's really good that somebody like LeBron is trying to speak out, because it's like LeBron has diehard fans of all ethnicities. So maybe it takes somebody like him for issues to really come up like this, because he has that kind of influence where Black, white, Asian, Latina, everybody loves LeBron. People who were super conservative Republicans were speaking out against the president on Twitter and on different platforms just because he came for LeBron.
Yeah.
So I think it really does help when you have people of that stature speak out. But unfortunately, we do have the LeBrons and the Kaepernicks, but we need more people who are kind of outside of the issue to have a voice as well.
Yeah, and I believe that. Caller, we appreciate you calling. You really sparked some things within us, and
absolutely,
I'm pretty sure in the near future we were going to have some more conversation about this. Do we have another call on the air?
No.
I think the caller, we lost that last caller. So I think at this point we've had.
Our lines are back open. So if that other caller wants to call back, we are open. But go ahead.
and I think we have another caller. Is that right, Marvin? All right, so we'll get that caller on the air. Caller, you're on the air.
Please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
We try.
I think we talked to that caller once before, didn't we?
Is that Siri?
Yeah, that's the same one. So Siri doesn't want to talk to us. But in the meantime, this has been a great discussion,
yes.
And I think we see from the response that we've received, and also just from the sheer volume of concern for how the president related to LeBron and also from the LeBron supporters that this issue is here for definitely a few minutes. So why don't we go to break? And after we get back from the break, we'll bring some more callers on and we'll continue our discussion on athletes versus the White House.
Ta-ta.
You're listening to Straight No Chaser. We'll be right back.
Anyone else?
My name is David, and in 8 years, I'll be an alcoholic.
Hi, David.
I'll start drinking in middle school, just at parties. But my parents won't start talking to me about it till high school. And by then, I'll already be in some trouble.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults.
The thing is, my parents won't even see it coming.
So start talking.
Who's next?
Before they start drinking.
We all have our own issues. Some people struggle with ADHD, some people struggle with diabetes, but I struggle with addiction. I was at a party when my friends told me to try it. They said it was okay because everyone else was doing it. And so I did. I tried it, and I became hooked. I was only 16 when I lost my friends, my family, and everything I had ever loved. I needed help. I needed support. I needed somebody to tell me that they believed in me, that I could recover. But instead, they called me names like junkie, thief, bum, and loser. It wasn't about the lack of money for therapy. It was about the lack of faith that I had in myself, the lack of faith that was constantly reaffirmed by the people I loved most. The guilt, shame, and isolation made it nearly impossible for me to ask for help. But one supportive friend, and 5 years later, I stand here to tell you, words are more powerful than the substances that we are addicted to.
When used incorrectly, they can set you on a path of indestruction.
But when used correctly, words have the power to heal, nourish, and mold individuals.
If you know someone who is struggling, please seek help.
But most importantly, believe in yourself and believe in your loved ones.
How do you like your issues served? It better be straight, no chaser. So let's get back to Pastor C, your girl Ambeezy, and the Chief.
Welcome back to Straight No Chaser. We've been having a wonderful conversation about athletes versus the White House. We've been talking about LeBron James, our president, Brother Kaepernick, just a lot of issues. But I want to say this, the comments of LeBron and other NBA players and the NFL protesters continue to keep the concerns of the community in the forefront. However, it appears that there is a contingent of Americans who feel that efforts to bring attention to these issues is un-American and a huge distraction. But my question to you, Ambeezy and Chief, do you think that their actions are a distraction?
Well, we actually have a caller right now, so
okay.
Can we touch back on this real quick? Caller, you are on the air.
Hi, this is Annette from Palm Beach, and I know we're speaking about President Trump and the White House and LeBron James, along with other athletes who have had the invitation to come to the White House. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to take us back to the fact that the invitation was made by someone who has a strong personality disorder. And it's not so much, in my opinion, and based on other facts, is that it's not so much the invitation to the White House, but it was an invitation made by someone who has been diagnosed as being a pathological narcissist.
Wow.
He has that. And this was back in 2015 when it was diagnosed, when he was coming through with the nomination. And so if you remember, his first 40 days, it was all about him and his tweets. It didn't matter what he said, but he won what he wanted to do. What he wanted to do was to have his name spoken every day by every household. Mm-hmm. And so he used those 40 days to get that attention. So people who have this type of disorder, they are self-centered, and they have an emotion that is distracted if they don't get their way. So that's what, from diagnosing what his situation is, he is upset that it was his invitation that was denied by a minority who he definitely has no feelings for, by a minority, and by a minority with money, by a professional that's honored and respected by most of the people in America.
Right.
So it took away from his narcissistic behavior. That's what took it away. It's not so much that it's the White House. Okay, in 1984, there were athletes who chose not to go and accept President Reagan's invitation to the White House. And at that time, it was because of him being the president, right, not the visit to the White House.
Right.
And that's the same thing that's happening here with President Trump.
I agree.
And we're giving him what he wants by continually speaking about the White House. No one is saying that it's his personality and that we're feeding into his disorder that gives him more strength to go out and continue these type of attacks.
You know what? We appreciate that, caller. Thank you so much for calling. And we did mention earlier that some individuals don't necessarily have a problem with the White House. They have a problem with number 45.
Right.
And so
and conversely, that's a part of the problem, is that the president is not making the protest about what they need to be about. He's making it about him. He's making it seem like this is a personal attack on me. LeBron attacked me. The NFL is taking a knee and attacking people who follow me. And that's absolutely what's going on. He's been making it about him since before he got elected, and that is the exact problem. This is not. He's taking everything on as a personal attack, and unfortunately, it takes light away from the issues at hand.
Now, but do you all think, and BZ and Chief, do you all think that these protests, different things like that, these stands that these men who happen to be athletes are taking, do you think that they are a distraction?
Well, I don't think they're a distraction. I think the issue is that it depends on how people are interpreting the actions of the athletes who are protesting. For example, when you look at it's a fact that Colin Kaepernick went to the military and said, how do I protest without disrespecting the service of the veterans? The veterans told him, take a knee. But it's not being perceived as a respectful gesture. It's being received as a unpatriotic, disrespectful, unappreciative gesture, which is totally wrong.
Right.
But he's only saying that because he feels attacked. That's the thing. I feel like a lot of the things that he spews, when he goes on those rants, is because he's mad at, he feels some type of way about how the message affected him. I really don't think he could care less about LeBron James or what he's saying. But since LeBron James went against his ego and what he says, now it's a problem.
Are you speaking of president?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I was asking in terms of the protests in the NFL.
Sorry.